What's up, guys? So today we are working on some Civic things. It's not the yellow one. It is the little hatchback that I picked up just yesterday. So as I said, I'd like to kind of do little daily uploads. And if you guys like those and you like the channel and you like what we do here, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing with that notification bell. But we're working on, what'd you break?
The handles broke off. Oh. More brittle plastic.
That's all right. They sell those. They sell those. But anyhow, we have this thing. So like I said, I bought it from my buddy Nick, and he already started cutting and buffing it, but he wasn't really super comfortable with the actual buffing process. So he already wet sanded a lot of it. But I'm just going to go over it again real quick, just because if you let some of this kind of the slurry sit on there for a while, I mean, you could buff it off, but I just want to kind of run over it again just real quick, make sure everything is solid. And he didn't do the hood on it, the hood and the fenders and the bumper and stuff. So just pulling off the mirror, give us a little bit more room, probably pull off this one too. And definitely need to do the roof on it, because this needs sanded a lot more than it has been. But I think it's gonna turn out really good. This thing's gonna look like a freaking show car, hopefully by the end of the day, because we got a little bit of a timeline, so we're gonna bust it out.
So where are we at, Trev?
So we're at the kind of still testing stage to kind of see where we're at, but Nick got this side pretty flat. I think on that side over there that you were messing with, we're gonna have to go a little bit more aggressive with it. But yeah, I mean, it's looking really good, looking really flat over here. So I went over it with 1500 on this little bit of a longer block right here. Just to kind of keep everything flat, like as flat as we can, so you don't get any of that like ripple stuff just from like hand sanding it. So yeah, I basically got this whole bottom piece done, so that went pretty quick. Now I'm just gonna focus on this real quick, this little pillar up here on the top, and the door in the side. Need to do the roof. And it honestly, I wonder if he kind of did it. Kind of looks like he did it a little bit.
Like, I think he maybe DA'd it with like a 15.
Something like that. But yeah, it doesn't look like the roof needs much at all. So I'll probably just do that 15 unless I see any big spots, and we'll just buff it real good. But yeah, I think it's gonna turn out good. It's going a little bit quicker than I thought. I thought we were gonna be out here for freaking days, but you know, I mean, we could spend days on it, but I don't want to do that. But looking good. Alright guys, so we are obviously sanding this thing, which takes a long time, and you know, wet sanding, I was doing it by block, I was doing it by hand, and I was like, you know what takes less time is it on the DA, but it's also sketchy on the DA. So I've done this before using the DA, but since it has the...
Would you say like sketchy DA?
It's similar to sketchy DA is what you'd call it, but so what it does is it gives it like little pigtails if you get like a rock or something under it. But the initial like taking down all of the texture, or the, you know, kind of the orange peel, takes a while just doing it by hand. And so you can knock it down really fast with this. So I have a foam interface pad, which is basically a squishy piece of foam that goes on here, and 1000 grit, some 3M wet dry. And I basically did this, the door, he didn't really sand the door very much, just kind of buzzed over it. So it had actually a lot of texture in it as far as like orange peel. And so did that with that, but then what I'm gonna do to get out those little curly cues that if they do show up is basically wet sand it again with 1000 grit and 1500 and then 2000. So instead of like doing a full, like where you have to hit one spot like 10 to 15 times to get it flat, only hit it like 3 or 4 times, kind of give it a little wipe, make sure there's no little pigtails in it. We should be able to move on. So this hood actually has a little bit of overspray on it, just because I think Nick painted something in the shop. But I'll go ahead and I'll kind of show you guys what I'm looking for as I sand this thing to make sure that we're not actually going too deep. 1000 grit sketch idea. Here we go. You can see the hood is honestly pretty flat already. There wasn't like a whole lot of texture in it, but what there is where you can actually kind of see it now. So see how in the center it's a little bit more uniform gray, and towards the edges you kind of have that, you know, it just looks like texture. And so what you do is you basically just keep going until you get to about right here. You don't want to go like 100% to where it's perfect, because you still want to leave a little bit of material there to where you could actually sand out like the little pigtails and stuff if they do show up. And also little pieces of dirt, like a little dirt nib. Like right there's a little chunk of dirt. So I'll show you that. So that's basically a little dirt nib right there. And so we should be able to get most of that out. I would consider this like an advanced technique. I wouldn't, you know, like your first car you paint and you want to cut and buff it, I definitely wouldn't start out by doing this. But you could see just how much time that saved, how fast we were able to kind of buzz through that. So this is about where I'm going to leave it. You can see there's a little bit of texture just right here, and then on the edges, which you do kind of need to be careful with the edges, but I will go a little bit closer to them. But yeah, it just saves a whole lot of time. And then again, you do have to go back through it thoroughly and wet sand it with, you know, I'll probably buzz it real quick with 1000, then hit it decent with 1500, and then a little bit with 2000, and then we'll basically 3-stage polish it. So lots of work, but it's gonna look like a freaking diamond when we're done. All right, so left to go grab some extra stuff from Walmart, some 2000 grit. They didn't have any 2000 just by themselves, so you had to get the 1500 2000 pack. So went ahead and got that. Got this 3001 right here, and wanted to grab basically just one thing of the the microfiber towels. Check this out. They had these things on sale. So normally these I think they're either $10 or they're $12. So they had them as like a manager special for $2.50 a piece. So I got a 30 pack of 30 packs is what I did. Actually, I got 31 packs. So it's a warm one today, boys, but it's not too bad. I think it's about 100 degrees outside. It's about 80 inside. We got the porticool up there, and that seems like it's doing all right. Kind of makes it kind of humid in here, but at least it's 80 degrees and humid versus like 100 degrees and just freaking boiling. But anyhow, obviously working on this thing. So right now I'm kind of doing a little bit of a couple little test spots on it to kind of see how far I actually need to go. So on the roof over here, I DA'd it with 1,000, hand sanded it with 1,000, kind of crisscrossed it twice back and forth, 1,500 and 2,000. And then went ahead and hit it with the buffer, and I'll show you guys that. And I hit it just real quick. I haven't even wiped the compound or anything off of it, so that looks like that's turning out really good. And then right here on the front of the car, I went ahead and did 2 little test sections. So I did one kind of on this side of the hood, which was 1,500 grit only with the DA. And that did leave a couple of those little pigtails or whatever in it, and I was just kind of curious if I used a little bit more compound and a little bit more heat with the buffer, if I could get them out, and I did. I was able to get those out. So you're looking at this guy right here. Looks pretty good. Really hard to kind of get this thing to kind of show up on camera how I actually want. Right here on the edge, I don't know if you guys would actually be able to see, like the little curly cues right there. A couple little curly cues. I might be able to take a picture of it on my phone on the edge where I just didn't get it hot enough. But that overall looks pretty good. And then I did another little section right here, and I basically did 1,000 hand sand again, 1,500 hand sand, 2,000, and then I didn't try the 2,500. But then the thing that is different about it is I'm able to get a pretty close finish on both of them. This one to me just looks a little bit more like a mirror, just a little bit flatter, and I like that. And it took a lot less effort. It took a lot less compound, took a lot less heat with the buffer. But there's also the trade-off of, you know, spending a lot of time sanding it by hand too. So I definitely don't think I'm gonna be able to get away with just hitting it with only the DA, you know, with the 1,500 and then buffing it. I think I'm definitely gonna have to hit it with a hand sand, you know, over the 1,000 grit DA, just to make sure that we get all those curly cues out and you know, get them a little bit closer down so that I don't have to work so hard with the buffer. So lots and lots of work. Man, buffing these cars is a pain in the butt, but seeing them look like this, like a mirror. And again, this is just rubbing compound. So rubbing compound actually leaves a little bit of a haze still, because rubbing compound is actually really pretty aggressive. And so when we go over it with the 2-stage, with the black pad and the polish, it'll be a little bit better. And then when we go over it with the final, like final compound stuff, or not compound, polish, it's like ultra fine polish. It gives it just the very hint, but it just adds like that much more to it. And then yeah, so lots and lots of freaking work, but it is really rewarding. It is nice to actually look at this thing and see it kind of polish out like that. So definitely got a lot of work, but gotta keep going. All right, so whole car is completely wet sanded. Holy crap, that takes a long time. Even though I did do the 1,000 with a DA, just having to go back over it with 1,000, then 15, then 2,000, But it's kind of crazy when you start looking at the car. Like if you look like right here, it's like already kind of has like a sheen to it, you know, with that, the hitting it with the 2000. So yeah, already did a little test patch right here just to kind of see where we were at. Everything looking good. So yeah, nothing left to do other than squirt some compound on the buffer and just freaking go to town on this thing. So it's gonna be nice, which is all looking like that. Guys, we are back. Went home, had dinner, and we are plucking away on this thing. So before I left, basically got this whole side in compound, compounded like 3/4 of the roof. I wasn't able to reach the other side from this side, but just gonna give you guys a little bit of a tip. So light is key here. I had this thing on the charger, so this is a light that Astro Tools sent me. It is a UV, or not a UV. It's basically the same like colors and rays of the sun, so it mimics the sunlight, which is what you want when you're like looking at paint stuff, especially when you're indoors, like under these type of lights where they just kind of make stuff look good or weird or whatever. So I was looking at it from right here and I was like, oh, that looks good. But then you look down and you could see like right basically there and there where I do need to compound it a little bit more. So yeah, it's always nice to have actual real true sunlight. I went around on this side of the car, everything's kind of looking pretty decent. There's a couple little spots I should probably do, just hit a little bit more with a compound. But again, it's one of those things that you know, you wouldn't really notice, because I was buffing in basically this light right here, and it looks shiny until you put on that light. So shout out to Astro Tools. They have that light. It's actually rechargeable, and you can stick it on that stand. So pretty cool little addition. I'm gonna go ahead and change up the music for you guys and put you guys on the time-lapse stand, and I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this side. So whole car is compounded, and now it is time to move over to the second stage, which is the polish. But if you guys can see how the hood is kind of has them swirls to it still, where you can almost see kind of where the buffer was kind of, you know, wiping around it or whatever. Then you come more so to this side. This is kind of where I ran that tape line, and I actually polished this side so you could actually see how this is a lot darker, doesn't have all them swirls like that. So the system I'm using, where'd it go? Hold on, I moved it. So I'm using this this buffer right here, which is the random speed, or not random speed, variable speed, just normal orbital buffer, so it just spins around. And what I'm using is these 3M pads, and the nice thing about it is they have these quick connects on them, where you basically just stick it down right there, clip it in, and you're good to go. Whereas typically, if you guys have ever buffed anything before with like the older style pads, it's kind of like a little sticky, you know, like a piece of Velcro. And I feel like every time you put it on there, it's never centered, and it's just always weird. And the nice thing about this is you have two sides of it. So if you kind of you feel like it's getting clogged up or getting kind of full of material, you can just flip it around and use the other side, or if you drop it or get something in it. So yeah. This next step should basically take all them swirls out, and we're moving along, man. This takes a while, especially doing like a whole car at once. It's kind of nice to just do like a hood and a fender, you know, but man, you do the whole freaking car, like the roof and man, everything. But it's already looking like way better of a car. Guys, I don't know if you are ready for this, but it's done. Well, at least this part of it. So check this out. Man, look at that color. That's awesome. So if you take away that light, then you can kind of see us in it. You can just see how flat everything is. So yeah. Man, this thing turned out really, really good. Lots and lots of work. Lots of time. You can see there's still some streaks from me just wiping it down with the microfiber, but man, it turned out so good. Lots of time. It's like midnight right now. I think I got started on this thing. I think it was about 11 or so today. Then I went home for dinner for about an hour. So we got about 12 hours in this thing. Like this is one of the first time I've actually came down to the shop and just like got started right away and just didn't stop. And you know, just because this is just a lot of work. And if you sit around and you procrastinate, especially doing this stuff, it's easy to do a quarter panel real quick and then go sit down. And I just decided that, you know, we weren't going to do that this time, and we're just going to get it done. But man, I know there was a lot of you guys saying, or there was one or two of you guys saying, maybe in the last video of me picking this thing up, that were like, man, that thing's not clean. But you just had to have a little faith in it, you know. Just it took a little bit to actually get it clean. And this is one of my favorite things about paint is when it's done, you know. That's one of my favorite things. And honestly, just standing back and looking at it, I think I was a little bit more motivated to spend a little bit more time on this car, you know, cutting and buffing it, and actually, you know, taking the time to kind of go through the whole thing instead of just doing the tops of everything. You know, we did all the way down the doors, all the way on the rockers and stuff. And this thing is it is so flat. It's so straight. It's so crazy seeing a car that's, you know, 23 years old, especially a Civic hatchback, that these things are normally just beat and just kind of ragged out, to finally see one fully clean and nice. And I just can't wait till we get the pieces of trim and the side skirts and the different wheels and the bumpers and the headlights and everything in it. I do need to clean the windows a little bit. They got a little bit of overspray on them, so need to clean those a bit. But man, turned out really good. So I think tomorrow Ty's going to come down here and ceramic coat it while I'm painting some of the other pieces for it. And yeah, man, again, lots of work. If you guys are interested in doing this yourself, I will put the link in the description to all this stuff. Like, I went ahead and did, this is the blue stuff. This is the ultra fine machine polish, which this takes out the machine polish scratches. So this is the ultra fine. And again, those little quick release pads, those are a freaking lifesaver. So it's a little Milwaukee thing too. This thing is awesome for like little, you know, hard to reach areas, like I was doing up here, like right here on the edge, and then, you know, a couple little things going down the side. But yeah, that thing helps out a lot. But again, I'll put all the links in the description for the Amazon, as far as like the wet sanding paper and all that type of stuff. And I'll put also a little description of maybe what I did in the description of this video. So be sure to read the description of this video. But yeah, I guess there's not much else to say. It is getting a different wing. This wing has some little bit of hail damage and stuff on it, so we have another wing. This got painted at a different time than the car. It was like a last minute thing. So anyhow, we have the other wing. Just need to repaint that. A couple other little bits in this thing. But yeah, pretty excited to actually get this thing all back together and you know,